66 million years ago, a catastrophic asteroid impact changed the course of life on our planet forever.
Striking what is now Mexico, it triggered a global environmental apocalypse that wiped out the giant dinosaurs. The undisputed rulers of the planet for over 100 million years were gone in a heartbeat. This event left a massive ecological vacuum across the globe, waiting for new life to emerge. Before mammals could claim global dominance, unique conditions in South America sparked a terrifying evolutionary result. For nearly 60 million years, this isolated continent became a brutal battlefield ruled by unstoppable apex predators. Known as the terror birds, these giants stood over 3 meters tall with massive, razor-sharp beaks. These flightless monsters tracked down their prey at lightning speed, capable of crushing bones with one strike. This is the story of a forgotten era, when giants still walked the earth and feathers ruled.
To understand these creatures, we must travel back to the dawn of a new geological era. 66 million years ago, the world was a scarred but wide-open place after the Great Extinction.
While mammals existed alongside dinosaurs, they were small and weak, hiding in the shadows of the night.
In the immediate aftermath, they were completely unready to take over the dominant roles left behind. This left a critical window of opportunity open for other survivors to claim the throne. The ancestors of the terror birds were small, agile runners on a chaotic and changing planet. But in the isolation of South America, natural selection went into a terrifying overdrive. Within a few million years, early members of the giant bird family began to appear.
Evolution rapidly selected for massive size, incredible ground speed, and bone-crushing beak shapes.
What started as small runners quickly escalated into colossal, flightless nightmares that ruled the land.
Dropping out of the sky was their first major evolutionary breakthrough, freeing them from weight limits. Their bones, no longer hollow and fragile, grew thick and immensely heavy to support their weight.
This increase in bone density allowed them to reach staggering physical proportions over millions of years. Some species stood over 3 meters tall, giving them a massive visual advantage on the plains. From this elevated perspective, no hidden movement in the tall grass could escape their sharp gaze. The true centerpiece of this evolutionary nightmare was the skull, a solid block of bone. Attached to this rigid structure was an enormous, deeply hooked beak that resembled a battle axe. This terrifying design was built specifically to withstand incredible physical impacts without cracking. This heavy head was supported by an exceptionally powerful network of thick neck muscles. These muscles were engineered for driving the head straight down with explosive, lethal force. By anchoring the skull to a muscular neck, nature created a biological pile driver. Beneath this heavy upper body sat a pair of exceptionally long, muscular legs for chasing. Their foot structure featured sharp, curved talons with a particularly deadly inner claw for pinning. These powerful limbs allowed the giant birds to sprint at speeds exceeding 50 kilometers per hour. They could easily run down the fastest mammals of their time with relentless, terrifying speed. Every detail of this anatomy was a direct response to the isolated environment of South America. Open plains demanded speed, while the lack of competition allowed the birds to grow without limits. Their entire body was a perfectly engineered weapon system, shaped by powerful environmental forces. They were built to rule, and their physical design made them unstoppable on the plains. To see this apex predator in action, we must reconstruct its terrifying hunting strategy. The terror bird was not an ambush predator, but a pursuit hunter of the open plains. Once a target was spotted, the bird immediately launched into a full-speed, terrifying charge. Its long, heavily muscled legs acted like powerful pistons, pushing the bird forward with efficiency. Its massive tail provided crucial balance, allowing it to make sharp turns on unstable ground. For a running mammal, escaping this feathered nightmare was a nearly impossible task. As it closed the distance, it prepared its primary weapon, the axe-like head. It utilized a unique attack method, treating its entire head like an iron hammer. The impact was comparable to a heavy steel battle axe, striking with full, lethal force. This downward strike was designed to shatter bones and paralyze the target instantly. If the strike didn't kill, it used its massive feet to pin the animal down. The bird would then use its hooked beak to tear through flesh and consume its meal. This aggressive hunting method was perfectly engineered for the open environments of South America. It allowed them to dominate the grasslands for millions of years as undisputed avian tyrants. No mammal had evolved a defense against such downward physical force for generations.
By turning their bodies into living weapons, they proved you don't need teeth to rule.
They remained at the absolute top of the food chain, unchallenged for millions of years. Millions of years of isolation transformed South America into a highly unusual ecosystem. Unique mammals shared the landscape with the giant birds, including strange native ungulates. However, environmental conditions did not favor the development of large, dominant placental predators.
Instead, the top tier of the food chain remained entirely occupied by the avian masters.
The mammalian predators of this era were primarily marsupials, with their own metabolic limitations. They occupied secondary niches, focusing on smaller prey or scavenging to avoid direct conflict. The giant birds acted as the primary regulatory force of the South American continent. The changing landscape further widened the gap between birds and mammals for generations. As grasslands replaced forests, speed became the ultimate survival factor for all creatures. The long-legged terror birds evolved unmatched efficiency on the open, sun-drenched plains. Marsupial predators remained slower and were effectively pushed into the shrinking forested regions. Native herbivores developed their own survival strategies, growing to massive sizes to deter attacks. However, evolutionary pressures ensured that the giant birds adapted as well over time. Young, injured, or elderly herbivores were constantly targeted, keeping populations under total control. This balance resulted in millions of years of stable, unchallenged ecological dominance. For nearly 60 million years, the continental isolation of South America remained unbroken. However, deep beneath the ocean, the relentless movement of tectonic plates was preparing a shift.
The slow but unstoppable drift of Earth's crust was about to erase the watery border.
Volcanic activity and massive underwater shifts began to push the ocean floor upward. Over millions of years, a narrow strip of land emerged,
creating the Isthmus of Panama.
This newly formed land bridge connected North and South America for the first time.
The closing of this oceanic gap had massive global consequences, altering marine currents. But on land, its impact was an immediate ecological explosion that changed everything.
This narrow bridge effectively destroyed the evolutionary boundaries that had kept worlds apart. This monumental event triggered a massive prehistoric migration known as the Great American Interchange.
Suddenly, thousands of species found themselves staring across a brand new, dangerous frontier. Placental mammals from the north and unique creatures from the south began to cross. They migrated into unfamiliar territories, disrupting ancient balances that had lasted for eons. For the terror birds, this connection meant their secure, isolated paradise was gone forever. The open grasslands they had ruled without challenge were now accessible to outsiders. Strange new scents drifted on the wind, and unfamiliar tracks appeared in the dirt. The northern borders of their kingdom began to shift as new predators arrived. This was the start of an intense, continent-wide survival competition between two worlds. The avian tyrants of the south were about to meet the advanced mammals. The ultimate battle between the descendants of dinosaurs and the masters of mammals began.
The opening of the land bridge brought an immediate wave of advanced predators.
For the first time, placental mammals built for group coordination entered the territory. Leading this invasion were advanced canids and massive felids with honed hunting strategies. The ancient, solitary masters of the South faced an entirely new type of threat. Among these new arrivals, the saber-toothed cats presented the most direct challenge.
These mammalian predators were built like tanks, possessing immense upper body strength.
While terror birds relied on speed, saber-toothed cats used sheer physical weight. Two entirely different philosophies of killing now walked the same prehistoric plains. In addition to large cats, the invasion introduced highly coordinated pack hunters. Terror birds were solitary giants, relying on individual dominance to secure their territory.
They were completely unprepared to deal with a highly organized pack of predators.
A single bird could easily be harassed and driven away by a coordinated group. This influx of new predators drastically altered the dynamics of the food chain. The open grasslands, once an exclusive hunting ground, became crowded and dangerous. As mammalian carnivores targeted the same prey, food became scarce and harder to catch. Terror birds were forced into direct, violent confrontations over territory and food resources. Northern mammals brought a hidden advantage: higher reproductive rates and social structures. If a solitary bird was injured, its chances of survival dropped significantly.
Mammals could rely on pack protection to recover from injuries and survive. The reproductive balance was slowly shifting in favor of the northern invaders. This was not a sudden annihilation, but a slow, grinding shift in power. The terror birds were forced to adapt and fight harder for every meal. they had to share their empire with highly efficient rivals for the first time. The avian tyrants were no longer the undisputed rulers of the vast landscape. The final decline was caused by a complex combination of environmental factors. As the planet entered a cooling phase, the lush grasslands began to change. Intense climate shifts and changing weather patterns disrupted the ancient vegetation. The very foundation of the ecosystem they depended on was slowly altering. Simultaneously, prey species were undergoing their own rapid evolutionary transformation. Many herbivores grew even larger or developed thicker natural armor to survive. Others became incredibly fast social runners, making them much harder to catch. Their specialized hunting method became less effective as traditional targets vanished. Competition from placental mammals reached its absolute peak during this period. With food resources shrinking, the superior reproductive rates of mammals won out. It became increasingly difficult to raise their young safely in the new world. Over thousands of generations, these pressures slowly reduced the giant bird population. One by one, the grandest and most specialized species faded into extinction.
They were unable to keep pace with the rapidly accelerating modern world.
The once mighty avian empire quietly collapsed after nearly 6 million years. The last true titans took their final steps on a changing, dangerous landscape. Yet, the remarkable lineage of these prehistoric raptors did not entirely disappear. While the colossal giants vanished, their smaller, more versatile relatives survived. They managed to survive the harsh ecological bottleneck of the changing world. Today, hidden within the brushlands of South America, lives the fascinating Sariema. This elegant creature stands as the closest living relative of the terror birds. It carries their genetic legacy into the modern era with striking efficiency. Watching a modern Sariema hunt provides a striking window into the past.
It utilizes a unique, brutal behavior, slamming its prey against rocks to break bones.
This behavior is a direct echo of the ancient, axe-like strikes of its ancestors. Though vastly reduced in size, this living relic stands as a reminder. It reminds us of a time when feathers, not fur, ruled the planet. The spirit of the ancient tyrants still walks among us in the modern world. Their legacy is one of incredible adaptation and unchallenged dominance for millions of years. They were the ultimate killers of their time, perfectly engineered for their world. Their story is a testament to the power of evolution and isolation. For eons, South America was a world apart, a laboratory of unique life. In this laboratory, the terror birds became the ultimate avian experiment. They were built for speed, power, and absolute dominance on the plains. They were the pursuit hunters that no mammal could outrun for generations.
Their downward strike was a biological marvel of lethal, explosive force. They ruled their kingdom with an iron beak for nearly 60 million years. But even the mightiest empires must eventually face a changing world. The arrival of new rivals and a changing climate marked their end. Their footprints were slowly erased from the landscape they once dominated. But their legacy lives on in the smaller, more resilient Seriema. The story of the terror birds is a reminder of Earth's wild past. Giants may fall, but the spirit of the tyrant bird remains forever.